This side Easter egg has plagued the zombies community ever since Dead of the Night came out over 4 years ago. The community tried so many different strategies involving some vases around the map to complete this Easter egg because we knew that it was an Easter egg of some kind. I personally remember watching people like the No Thumbs crew and Glitchin' Queen and Absolem try for countless hours to solve this Easter egg. And finally, as of Christmas Day 2022, 4 years after this map came out, we finally know how to beat this side quest. Now with saying that, unfortunately, this was not found legitimately. The steps were found in the code and were deciphered to figure out exactly how to beat this quest. But with saying that, the steps were solved by someone named Sirius or Shiversoft Dev, I think is how you say it on Twitter. I don't really know, but I'm putting a picture of his @ on Twitter right now on the screen. So if you want to go follow him and thank him for finding this out, be sure to do so. But don't send him any hate because this Easter egg took so long to find. And honestly, looking at this Easter egg, I don't think it was possible to find without some sort of leak. But regardless, it's still a really cool Easter egg that makes Dead of the Night keep aging like fine wine. Now I'm going to go over this briefly in this video because I want to document this on my channel. So this won't be a super in-depth tutorial on how to do this quest, although you can technically beat it if you do everything I say in this video in the same order. But if you want a really good in-depth guide that explains exactly how everything works, I will link one in the description by someone named Skyte Idnit. Again, I'm probably butchering that name and I'm sorry, but the fact remains that it's still a really good guide. So to start off the game, you need to open your way up to the Sentinel artifact, but look at the ground along the way because there's gramophones in the map that if you look at them, this Easter egg will not work properly. So once I got the power turned on, there's 6 doors I had to open in a certain order and 6 gramophones that I needed to look at in a certain order. The way I did it in my game was I followed the tutorial that I previously mentioned, so I opened the door to Pack-a-Punch first, and then the door to the cellar, and from there I opened the door from the main hall to the dining hall, and then from the dining hall to the greenhouse area. And the final 2 doors I opened was on the other side of the main hall, opening the door to the library, and finally the door from the library to the cemetery. If you are following along, make sure you write down the order you open those 6 doors, and the order you look at these 6 gramophones, as if you don't do it in the exact order that the game wants you to, this step will not work and you will have to restart. So when I looked at the 6 gramophones, I looked at them again in a certain order, but I ended up staring at them for a good 5 or so seconds, because apparently it takes a second or 2 for the game to actually acknowledge that you have looked at the gramophones. And just a heads up on co-op, it is player specific, so what that means is one player can't look at half of the gramophones while another player looks at the rest. It does not work like that, unfortunately. The same person has to do everything, but thankfully I was playing solo, so I really didn't have to worry about this. So again, I looked at the 6 gramophone, and there's no audio cue for most of the side quests. You just have to write down, like I said, you have to write down the order in a notepad or something like that. To get all 6 gramophones, you will have to do the bookshelf Easter egg to gain access to one of the gramophones, and to be honest, I kind of find that funny, that you have to do a side quest within a side quest. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but after I looked at all 6 gramophones and opened all 6 doors, I can now go to the main hall, and now it's time to shoot some vases that I mentioned earlier in the video. Now, as I said, there is a specific order to do this, and each vase correlates to a door that you open, and you need to shoot them in the same order you open the doors in. Now, we thought for the longest time that this was the first step of a side quest, but actually it turns out that this is like the halfway point in a really long side quest, which would explain why we were never able to actually figure out the right combination. But right now I'm exploding the vases with grenades, and to do that, the most effective way to do it that I've found is to use the Pack-a-Punch Trebuchet, which honestly is one of my favorite guns in the game, so I was happy to be able to use it. But with that being said, these vases are pretty hard to destroy. So I had to stand in a certain spot of the map and angle my shots in such a way that I was able to land the grenade that I shoot out of my trebuchet into the vase and destroy it. This took some time, and eventually I had to go back and had to get more ammo for my trebuchet, and I ended up wasting a second wall power because I was so bad at this. But after I shot all 6 vases in the correct order, I went near Pack-a-Punch, and if you look right here while I'm looking, there is a candle that won't be lit if you did this correctly. Shooting all 6 vases in the right order is what caused this, as the candle is lit by default when you first load into the map, and will stay lit if you don't do this step correctly. And I believe that these vases do not respawn, so if this candle is still lit after you destroyed all 6 vases, then you did not do this step correctly, unfortunately, but thankfully, I didn't mess up in my game, so I was able to put out the candle, which means I'm on step 4 of this quest. Now at this point, there are 6 candles around the doors that you had to open in a certain order that are now unlit. I had to throw a wraith fire at these candles in the opposite order of the doors that I opened. So for example, I opened the Pack-a-Punch door first, so the candle next to that door will be the last candle that I light. This process is annoying since you have to wait for your wraith fires to recharge. You have to wait like a minute or something like that. But eventually, after 8 or 9 attempts at throwing these wraith fires at the candles, I was able to light all 6. And you know, now that I think about it, there was absolutely no way that this Easter egg was being solved legitimately. Like, I'm all for side quests and Easter eggs in general being really hard to find, but there is no way that we would have found this without some sort of leak. But getting back to the step, after I lit the 6th and final candle, it stayed lit, which means I did it right. Again, if the candles go back out, then that means you didn't do it right and you'll have to redo the order. So now for step 5 of this really long side quest, I need to grab a gramophone record and the master bedroom stairway, and I need to interact with the gramophones I looked at the beginning of the game, but this time in the opposite order that I looked at them in. So again, for example, in my game, I looked at the one in the master bedroom first, so that means that will be the last gramophone that I will interact with. When I interact with the gramophone, it'll play a piece of the Easter egg song like this. And this means that I am doing the step right. So now I just have to go and interact with the rest of the gramophones, again, in the opposite order that I did it at the beginning of the game. And the final one I interact with will play the end of the Easter egg song like this. And this means that I have done this step right. So now I'm on the 6th and final step of this quest. And this is by far the hardest and most annoying step in this side quest. To start, I need to go right in front of the door that leads to Pack-a-Punch, and if you listen closely, you will hear a ghost, but you cannot see it. This is, of course, because he's invisible. So now we have to escort this invisible ghost's audio around the map as you see me doing here. Now, this might not be too bad in co-op, but on solo, this was a gigantic pain to complete. If you are following my haphazard guide, then this route that I'm showing you, I believe, is the route that the ghost goes every single game. So just follow the route I'm going and follow the audio cues. After a while of doing this, I got fed up and I found that a good strat to do is I ran the last zombie away from the general area where the ghost was. And then I ran back to that area and just ran everywhere until I heard this audio cue. So at this point, I know exactly where the ghost is. So at this point, I can continue to escort her along the path. But the ghost route goes from in front of Pack-a-Punch, through the dining hall and up the stairs, through the master bedroom and around the east balcony, past the grand staircase and through the billiards room, and eventually he will stop at the scroll location for Pack-a-Punch. You just need to stand there for a couple seconds until he starts to move again, and eventually he'll drop down and through the hallway to go back to the main hall, and finally he will enter the cellar. When he's in the cellar, he will not move unless you go prone. So again, do the same thing that I said. So run the zombie away and hurry back to the cellar and go prone and follow him. This part especially is really hard to do on solo, but after around 5 or so rounds and around 15 minutes of trying to find exactly where she was, I was able to finish escorting the ghost to this barrel right here. And when you do that, this will happen in your game. When you get the jump scare, you have now completed this really long Easter egg. The reward is you will get all of your perks for free, you will get 2 additional perks for free, and finally you will get free homunculus. Now, I've seen some people say that you can also get unlimited wonder weapon ammo and free silver bullets, but I tried both in my game and they didn't work, so I don't think they do. But at least for the wonder weapon portion, I only tried it with the base wonder weapon, so I didn't try using any of the upgraded wonder weapons to see if they had unlimited ammo. But so if you want to test that, do it and let me know in the comments if it ends up working, and if it does, I will leave a pinned comment down below. So with all that being said, is this worth doing every single game? Definitely not. Is it even worth doing a single time? That's debatable, But personally, I would say it's worth doing at least once, because besides the ghost step, I actually had a lot of fun doing this quest. Even though it took me around an hour to do, it was still enjoyable again until the ghost step. But even then, I'm sure that's a fine step to do on co-op. Thank you guys so much for watching, and again, check out the people I mentioned at the beginning of this video. You can thank them for finding the quest and uploading a really good tutorial. So now we actually know, after 4 years, how to complete the vase Easter egg. If you guys enjoyed, do me a favor and drop a like, subscribe if you're new, check out some of my other videos, they're on the end screen right now. I'm sure you'll like at least one of them, and with that being said, this is Jolts, signing out. Peace!